Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry, and it's time for some more Lone Wolf. And in this morning's episode, we're going to enter into an archery competition in which I'm going to make an executive ruling. There's no way I'm going to gain a benefit from wielding a shield, or the somersault. So it's going to be a tough one. We are starting at this section. I have already paid the money last time for the entry fee, as my note from last time says, already paid. Cyrillus offers to stay and look after the horses while you take part in the contest. He says that archery holds no interest for him, but you suspect this is just an excuse to take an afternoon nap. You hand him the reins of your horse and hurry to join the line of men waiting to enter the tournament field. The event reminds you of a Sommlending village pageant, and the jugglers, the dancers, and the numerous sideshows all add to the festive spirit. Eventually you reach the gate, where a cheerful old lady is collecting the 2 gold crowns entrance fee. You hand over your crowns and enter a large tent where the other competitors are stringing their bows. We do have a bow, so we don't need to rent or borrow one. A small, flat-faced man, dressed in a silver-braided jerkin, enters the tent and calls for everyone's attention. Quickly, he explains the rules that govern the tournament, and then ushers you onto the range. Why did I think it was going to be into, and then I went onto, because I've only been awake about 10 minutes, okay? So, at the far end of the field is a line of targets, each with 10 coloured rings marked from 0 to 9. Each archer is given 3 arrows, with which he must get a minimum score of 8 in order to qualify for the next round of the tournament. Pick 3 numbers from a random number table and add them together. If you have the Magnakai discipline of weapon mastery of a bow, add 3 to your total. Well, we need at least 8, we get a plus 3. 7 plus 3 is 10, 17, 18. We're good. For now. Even without the bow, there's a reasonably good odds of getting an 8 or higher on 3 10-siders. Your score qualifies you for a place in the final, for only one other archer has scored more than 7 points. His name is Alton, a tall man with rugged features, a ranger from the mountains of the north. He wields a longbow of orange toa wood, and his skill with his weapon is formidable. It'll be a difficult contest. Alton has a combat skill of 28. He really knows how to shoot arrows. And 50 target points, which are not endurance, but they are. But they're not. The tournament final is played out using the normal rules for combat. For this combat, you may not gain bonuses from a shield, obviously, blatantly, or any weapon other than a bow. In this case, weapon mastery of the bow grants you 3 combat skill bonus points that weapon mastery with melee weapons normally grants, rather than adding 3 to each random number pick, which would not work for the combat results table. Other restrictions may apply depending on your interpretation of the rules. I didn't need to read this footnote to realise that wielding a shield would not make it any easier for me to shoot arrows from a bow. It doesn't matter if it's possible, it matters that it makes it more difficult and doesn't make it easier in any possible way. I mean, maybe if it was like if it was like a pavis, right? A short pavis, and I'd placed it in the ground and I was resting a crossbow on top of it, there was a slight argument that it might help. But it's not. It's a shield and a bow. So, the tournament final is played out using the normal rules for combat. The only difference is that you begin with 50 endurance or target points. Any endurance points that you may lose are deducted from these target points. Your normal endurance score remains unchanged throughout the contest. The first one to lose all 50 of his target points loses the tournament. You need not erase any arrows from your action chart during this tournament. If you're using the Majhan and pick a 0 from random number table at any time, I am not. I imagine that might be a borrowed bow for the competition. So, first off, let's sort out our combat skill. It's not going to be 34. No shield, no Sommerlund. So that's 10 points already, down to 24. No free bonus points for wielding a sword, down to 21. Free bonus points for using a bow, back up to 24. That puts us in the -4 column. Now, our magic helmet does make us better at fighting, so I'm retaining the bonus for that, which keeps us at 24. This column is tricky. Alton is a highly talented archer, and he clearly really wants that bow, or he wants to show off a lot. But I do have a potion of Alepha, which will give me +4 combat skill for one fight only, which would take me up to the +0 column, which is actually slightly weighted in my favour, and it's about the best I can do. It's not like I'm going to use Mind Blast or anything. Right, so we are tracking both here. So I shall drink the potion. Now, I do not approve of performance-enhancing substances in sporting incidents, but honestly, without it, I'm going to be well and truly shafted in this particular situation. Here we go. Let's roll away. A 9. Alton loses 11. You know what? I'm going to track these two separately, right? On the left, we'll have the 0 column. On the right, we'll have the -4 column. So the 9... go to 39... and 9. Oh, wait, no. 39 and 9, 41. A good start. A 5. So, enemy loses 7, lone wolf loses 2. Or enemy loses 5, lone wolf loses 4. That good opening roll was a very good start. Now we have a 2. Yes, where the fun really begins. Enemy loses, each lose 4. We can do that. However, in the other column, that 2 would be enemy loses 2, lone wolf loses 5. Right. So, okay, not too badly then. Next roll is a 9. Oh, okay, yeah. Enemy loses 12. I think the reason Alton's skill is so high is so that we can't boost it into the enemy automatically killed or lone wolf automatically killed ends of the chart. However, 10 over here, so I'll knock 10 off that one for a 24. 41, 24 is still doing pretty good. A 4. 3 and 6. Or, conversely, a 4 each. Okay. Honestly, that early 9 really helped. A 5. Lone Wolf loses 2, enemy loses 7. On the other column, 4 and 5. I am somewhat regretting using the potion now, because it seems I would have managed reasonably well without it. Next roll, a 3. Hooray. 4 and 5 again, I see. Which wins us the match. 5 and 3. So at this point, Lone Wolf would, without the potion, Lone Wolf would be on 28 instead of 35 target points, and Alton would still have 12. You know what, let's roll on and see what the alternate result would be. Because a 4... each loses 4. 4 each loses 4. At which Lone Wolf still has 20 left, and Alton has 4. A 4 again... Okay. Dice roll is clearly stuck on 4s. Okay. There we go. Hopefully that's reset it. And let's make it back to the map. Let's hope he's a gracious loser. Although he was very, he could have been a winner very easily. He's definitely a contender. A loud cheer shatters the silence as your arrow strikes home. You have won. The villagers are thrilled to have witnessed such an exciting tournament and crowd around you to offer their praise and congratulations. The little man in the braided jerkin presents you with your prize, a magnificent bow made from the wood of a silver oak tree. This weapon will add 3 points to your total whenever you are using a bow and are instructed to pick a weapon from a random number table. Enter the silver bow of Duadon on your action chart as a special item, and make note of its special property. Oh my god, it's another special item weapon. I will politely leave my other bow here. I'm already carrying 3 weapons, none of which count as weapons. The 3-point bonus to your random number picks when using this bow can be added to the 3-point bonus you may already have with Weapon Mastery with bow, for a total of 6 points. As with the bonus for Weapon Mastery with bow, you may only add this bonus when determining the success of a bow shot. Absolutely. I'm not going to clunk someone on the head of it and ruin a perfectly good ranged weapon. After making a short speech to thank the villagers for their generosity, you shoulder your prize and head back to Cyrillus with the good news. A shock awaits you on your return to Cyrillus. Well, not that much of a shock. Both he and your horse have vanished. At first you curse him, thinking he has wandered off to a nearby ale tent for a drink, but when you discover his oaken staff lying beside the road, you sense that something is seriously wrong. You climb to the top of a parked wagon and strain your eyes in all directions for some clue to his whereabouts instead of just looking for hoof prints. Suddenly you see him, surrounded by a group of cavalrymen, galloping away to the west. You count 6 of them, plus a riderless horse. Your horse! Then you notice that conveniently hitched to the back of the parked wagon is a saddled horse. We can take the horse and give chase, or try and find the horse's owner and offer to buy it. I don't think we have time. I think we have to give chase. You have barely covered 100 yards when you hear a frantic cry, "Horse thief! Horse thief! Don't let him get away!" You tighten your grip and urge the horse along the highway as it dips and bends, following the low hedgerow that borders the tournament field. The cry alerts some men from the archery competition, and they soon appear in a line at the edge of the field. As they see you approach, they draw their bows to fire. Pick a number for random number table. Do we have animal control or hunt mastery? We do not. Okay. Well, so be it. 10, which is 0. Oh dear. A hail of... Oh, there we go. Dead. A hail of arrows engulfs you. Pain explodes through your chest, neck, and shoulder. You are mortally wounded, and although you fight to grim determination to hang on to life, it is a struggle you cannot win. Weak from shock and loss of blood, you fall from the saddle and die on the highway to Veretta. Your life and your quest end here. Found an auto kill, but it's not, because it's a dice roll, so it's not quite an auto kill. We're very near the beginning of the book. Virtually no dice rolls to get this far. Come back, redo the fight. Which I could theoretically replay until I won. Do I then have time to negotiate the purchase of a horse? Oh god, it's not Alton, is it? You do not have to look very far for the horse's owner. At this very moment he is striding towards you. Suddenly he recognizes you and salutes you with a friendly wave. We did win the archery contest. If it's Alton, he might not like us so much. If it's anyone else, he'd probably be like, "Oh yeah, man, you won. Take the horse." It is Alton. Before you can explain what has happened, he shakes your hand and congratulates you on your prowess with a bow, for in spite of his defeat, he is eager to show that he bears no grudge. You thank him and go on to explain your sorry predicament. "I think we can make a deal," he says, his eyes glancing at your silver bow. I don't want a part of it. Oh, it's going to be... yeah. "If you're not part of the bow, then perhaps you have something else of value that will persuade me to part with my horse," he says shrewdly. "Alton will accept either 2 special items or 20 gold crowns in exchange for your horse. You know what? We don't use money that often. Take the 20 gold crowns. And let's hope they haven't got away by this point. We'll agree to his proposal. You keep your side of the bargain. Remember to make the necessary adjustments to your action chart. In exchange, he hands over reins to his horse. "Good luck, Northlander," he says as you climb into the saddle. "I hope you find your companion. He is a lucky man to have a friend such as you." You shout a farewell as you spur your new horse to the gallop. Now, why would a bunch of armed men take the old sage? I think if they are lackeys of the nobleman we spited, that's probably it. Oh, God. Oh, great. The chase takes you deep into the heart of the Veretian hills. Soon the highway dips and twists, plunging into the valleys and hollows carved by fast-flowing streams and climbing through the dense woodland that clings precariously to every precipice and crag. You often lose sight of the riders, but your basic Kai skill of tracking and hunting enable you to follow their trail with ease. It's not until you reach a tiny village perched on the edge of a tree-lined crag that their trail becomes indistinct. However, you notice that at the far side of the village, a stony hill track branches from the main highway and ascends into the trees. We can continue along the highway or follow the hill track. We cannot rely on the Magnakai discipline of pathsmanship to help us here. The hill track If we're going the wrong way, we'll at least be able to look down and see, right? Near the crest of the hill there is a small hut built close to the track. Outside on the porch sits an old woman who is peeling fruit with a wooden knife. She smiles a gap-toothed smile and bids you welcome as you bring your horse to a halt. We'll ask her if she's seen any riders pass her home. "None passing by here," she says, her voice heavy with a Highland accent. "Track go to top of Beacon Hill, and no more than that." You sense that the old woman is telling the truth. The riders have not come this way, and the track leads nowhere. It is a dead end. You thank her and bid her farewell before turning round and descending the track. As you reach the junction with the highway, you see the riders emerging in single file behind a derelict cottage. They draw themselves into a circle in the middle of the village, and although they are out of earshot, you can tell by their movements and frantic gestures that they are having a heated argument. Suddenly the circle breaks, and they ride towards you with Cyrillus still unconscious in tow behind the last rider. You urge your horse off along the track and take cover among the dense trees. We have a bow and can ambush them as they ride past. Yeah, sure. Your ambush catches the enemy by surprise, making them panic and fly in all directions. At such close range, your arrow pierces the chainmail chest of the rider holding Cyrillus' horse and kills him instantly. Remember to deduct an arrow from your action chart. Absolutely. Obviously, the quiver of arrows does not go inside the backpack. As he tumbles to the ground, you break cover, exploding through the bushes and scooping the reins of from the dead man's horse. Angry shouts echo in your wake as you take off along the highway with the wizard and his horse by your side. Your immediate peril stops you dwelling too much on the reason why these riders should try to abduct Cyrillus. However, it does occur to you that he is neither wealthy nor powerful, and so a poor prospect for a rich ransom, and look who we have here. As you reach the bottom of the wooded crag. A wooden crag? No, a crag is like a rocky outcropping. Anyway, as you reach the bottom of the wooded crag, a stone church and graveyard loom into view at a point where the highway turns sharply to the west. Blocking the road on a charger as black as midnight sits a scar-faced young man. His eyes, set in a white and disfigured face, burn with a cold, dark glow. You recognize him immediately. It is Roark, the lordling you defeated at the Barrel Bridge Tavern. Do we possess a silver brooch? I doubt it. I do not see any such item here. Suddenly, the riders appear and spread out in a semicircle to surround you. "We have a debt to settle, Northlander," hisses Roark, his lips drawn back from his teeth in a contemptuous sneer. "I demand payment in full." Madness flashes in his glaring eyes as he removes an amulet from around his neck and holds it high in the air. "Come, come, Tagazin, I summon thee from the pit of eternal pain. I summon thee." The skin on your arms and neck prickles with dread at the sound of Roark's terrible invocation, and you cast your eyes around you for an escape route. Only the churchyard offers a way past Roark and his men, but as you spur your horse through the stone gateway, you are suddenly frozen with terror by what you see before you. Above the church, a whirlpool of darkness is taking form, casting a tomb-like chill on everything beneath. Frost crystallizes on the grass and flowers, and a terrible sound fills the air as the earth begins to shake. Cracks appear in the ground beneath you, and suddenly a score of fleshless hands burst from the earth, from the frozen soil, to grab your horse. It's the cover picture! Shrieking with terror, it rears up and you are thrown into the waiting arms of the waking dead. The undead summonation has a combat skill of 18 and endurance of 35. Due to the surprise of the attack, deduct 2 points from your combat skill for the first 2 rounds of combat, unless you have the Magnakai discipline of Hunt Mastery, which I do not. The undead are immune to Psi Surge and Mind Blast. Also, Unless you possess the Magnakai discipline of Nexus, you must deduct 2 endurance points for every round of combat you fight, due to the intense cold. If you wield the Sommerlund in this combat, you may double all endurance point losses inflicted on the enemy. Because they are undead, obviously. Let's do it. So, we have a combat skill of 34, knocked down to 32. So we're in plus 12. We're in the best column. With a 4, the enemy loses 24 endurance points and Lone Wolf loses 2. I think that's a very fair trade-off. However, we don't just lose 2. Because it's also bitterly cold. Let's roll again. An 8, enemy automatically killed, Lone Wolf loses nothing. But I will take the 1 point of damage for the bitter cold. Still. I'm suspecting at this point we are not going to rescue the wizard. But we do have another picture of those disembodied floating eye in the eye socket, looking out as the creature claws its way out of the grave. Oh, that's not a piece of armor. It's a vase containing plants, like flowers, by the graveside. Nice touch. As you destroy the last of the fleshless skeletons, all 20 of them in 2 combat rounds, that's bloody impressive. You see that the struggle has spread beyond the walls of the churchyard. Ah, we're not fighting all 20, we're just fighting the ones that are immediately on us. That makes much more sense. From the depths of an open crypt, a shambling mass of zombies are hurling themselves at the riders, tearing the terrified warriors from their saddles. Roark's summonation has gone horribly out of control. No living creature is safe from the terror he has unleashed. The lordling turns and gallops away in blind panic, leaving his followers to their grisly deaths. As he disappears, the swirling funnel of darkness slowly fades and the undead stagger and fall, crumbling into dust. So maybe we didn't even have to kill them all, we just had to fight until we, until he fled. Yeah. Which wasn't a matter of time, but a matter of damage that we were doing to make it clear we were overcoming the foes. As he disappears, the swirling funnel of darkness slowly fades and the undead stagger and fall, crumbling into dust which is carried away on the evening breeze. You rush to the aid of the old magician who lies mortally wounded, pinned beneath the body of his dead horse. As you cradle his head in your hands, his eyes flicker and open, and he forces a whisper from his blood-flecked lips. "Brass Street!" We do not have the discipline of curing because we took... Oh, we do! Excellent! And it's a non-combat section, so we will begin to feel the effects of the chill recede ever so slightly. Ever so slightly more, in fact. You concentrate all your powers of curing, transmitting the warmth created by your Magnakai skill through your hands into the shattered body of the magician. His frail shoulders tremble as he forces himself to whisper once more, "Brass Street! Veretta, find Gwinion the Sage. He will help your quest." I'm going to put this in notes. Why does Gwinion the Sage sound familiar? Is it the Chronicles of Narnia? One of the... I think there's a Lord Drinian, is one of the 2 lords who persuades Miraz to fight dishonourably in the duel with Peter in Prince Caspian. And who actually persuades him to accept the challenge at all. I can't remember the other lord's name, but they show rather spectacular political manipulation in that scene, which was missed from the recent film, and I think it was also omitted from the older BBC TV series, but I'm not sure. It's a very good scene. A trickle of blood seeps from the corner of the old man's mouth as his eyes flicker and close. He is dead. You bury him in the graveyard of the church where he fell, and say a silent prayer to the spirits of the Kai to watch over him on his final journey. A sadness fills your heart, and you take one last look at the oaken staff that marks his grave before setting off on the highway to Vareta. It is nearly dark when you catch sight of a tavern on the road ahead. 2 guttering torches set into rusty brackets illuminate the sign nailed above the door. The Halfway Inn. You recognize the name of the tavern that Cyrillus spoke of this morning, and it grieves you that he is not here to accompany you. Distant thunder rumbles through the hills as you stable your horse and enter the welcoming warmth of the tavern room. The tap room indeed. The tavern is alive with the chatter of merchants, the clink of glasses, and the crackle of a blazing fire. The centre of the room is dominated by a small stage on which a conjurer is performing his tricks to the delight of the customers. Yeah, we can watch the conjurer, and if someone picks our pocket, as long as it's only coins, we're probably okay. And we might learn something of value. Having removed a bunch of flowers from the ear of a startled merchant and a clucking hen from the petticoat of the merchant's wife, the flamboyantly dressed conjurer calls for silence from his cheering audience before announcing his next trick. 2 children shuffle onto the stage, their bodies and faces completely hidden by long black gowns that are tied at their foreheads. Only their hair, blonde and black, is visible. "I am a boy," says one with black hair. "I am a girl," says one with blonde hair, the voice identical to the first. The conjurer steps forwards and says that they are a boy and a girl, but at least one of them is lying. He asks which is which and invites the audience to bet on the answer. Well, if one is lying, both are. We could bet on this. Now hang on. They only make a statement about themselves. Both is an affirmative statement. Neither is negative. It's impossible for one of them to be lying. So either both or neither is lying if it is true that they are a boy and a girl. But we can decide that they are both speaking the truth. First, decide how many gold crowns you wish to wager and note this down in the margin of your action chart. I'm going to go 4, right? You consider the problem, decide that there can only be 4 possible combinations, and you repeat the conundrum under your breath before making your decision. "I am a boy," says one with black hair. "I am a girl," says one with blonde hair. And if the magician is telling the truth, then they are a boy and a girl, and they are both lying. We can decide they both spoke the truth. The first child spoke the truth and the second child lied, in which case they're both girls. The first child lied and the second child spoke the truth. They're both boys. No, hang on. First child, so both boys, both girls, both told the truth, both lied. I'm going with both lied. You are correct. The boy has blonde hair and the girl has black hair. Your logical thinking revealed they could not both be speaking the truth, for the conjurer had said that at least one of them was lying, and if one was lying, then the other could not have been speaking the truth. Therefore, there was only one conclusion to be drawn. Both lied. The conjurer pays you the number of gold crowns equal to that which you wagered. Remember to add this sum to your current total of gold crowns before approaching the bar and inquiring about a room for the night. puts us up to 16, a number which is about to dwindle by some 2 or 3 coins, probably.
"Looks like you made it here just in time," says the cheerful innkeeper, pointing to a rain-streaked window pane. It's going to be a tough...
Oh, they are like so northern, aren't they?
"Looks like you made it here just in time," says the cheerful innkeeper, pointing to a rain-streaked window pane. "It's going to be tough. It's going to be a rough night tonight, no mistaken."
They are northern. Fucking Yorkshiremen. Alright. I did consider that during the archery tournament briefly, or something. Yeah, the old woman. She seemed to have a northern accent as well. Right. You discover that a room for the night costs 2 gold crowns plus 1 gold crown for your horse's keep. A meal of black bread and hard-boiled eggs will cost you another crown. Unless you choose to eat a meal from your backpack, you must in any case eat a meal now, or lose 3 endurance points. You know what? We just lost our winnings, so this is essentially free. We'll pay for the room and lodging, sure. You collect your key and climb the stairs to your room at the top of the tavern. You sleep deeply, and at dawn rise from your... Oh, we should be back on full health now. It's been at least 2 sections. You sleep deeply, and at dawn rise from your narrow bed to shiver in the fresh breeze whistling through a cracked window pane. As the harsh light of morning floods the tiny garret, you see to your dismay that your backpack lies half open on the floor. A gaping hole has been gnawed from the flap. The unmistakable handwork of rats. Any meals you had in your backpack have been eaten or ruined. But not potions, mind you. We actually... There we go. There's our rations. Gone. We'll leave the tavern and collect our horse. The air is sweet with the smell of wet grass. The sun rises from the trees to the east, and mist steams from the hills on either side of the highway. By noon you reach a small village, where brightly decorated cottages line a cobblestone square. A shrine with an enormous onion-shaped dome stands in the middle of the square, and in its shadow sits a group of old women. They are tending to some shrubs with bright orange berries which glow in the shade. We do possess the discipline of curing. You recognize the orange berries of the Alepha plant. We just used a potion of that a little earlier. They are much sought after by warriors and soldiers, for they increase both strength and skill during combat. Yeah, we'll buy some. A handful of Alepha berries costs 3 gold crowns. If you swallow them before a fight, they will increase your combat skill by 2 points, not the 4 points from the potion, for the duration of the fight. You may purchase 3 handfuls of Alepha berries. Each handful counts as 1 backpack item, but you cannot swallow more than 1 handful during any one combat, obviously. When you have concluded your purchases, you remount your horse and leave the village. I'm going to go for 2. No, we'll just go for 1. I'm very tempted to purchase a second handful, but going down to 6 crowns will be very tricky for the rest of our quest, so I'll just go for 1 purchase. When you've concluded your purchases, you remount your horse and leave the village. It is late afternoon when you catch your first breathtaking glimpse of Veretta. Built on a massive plateau, this city has stood since time immemorial. The walls and buildings are immense, constructed from blood-red rock and crowded together in complicated splendour. Great stone dragons writhe along the battlements, their coiled tails entangling the gatehouses and portals of the outer wall, and spirals of smoke rise from the mouths of angry-faced gargoyles, crouching like spies on top of the roofs and towers that fill the sky. The sun has set by the time you reach the east gate. The red-coated guards offer no challenge, and you pass into the wide streets of this magnificent city to arrive eventually at a quadrangle. A pillar of red stone indicates the names of the streets that lead away from the square. You know what? None of these are Brass Street. I think arriving at the city of Veretta is a suitable moment to begin the next episode. It's a good, memorable stopping point in the story, and I'm going to end this one here. Before I do, I want to say I am completely happy with, recapping and resuming after the archery combat, because there's no real loss of endurance points, and the target points don't remain after the fight. So I would have got back to the same situation either way. I can't even remember if I had to roll to shoot an arrow at the young lordling previously, but I'm sure that could have been possible. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this episode, and I'll look forward to seeing you all in the very next one. I'll say goodbye for now, though, and cheerio, everyone. See you all soon.